In my own experience, always the best thing for your kids is actually to see you taking care of yourself, pursuing a career you love, or setting boundaries that keep you mentally and physically healthy. When they witness you honoring your own needs, they learn to do the same for themselves. Welcome to the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Doyle, certified life and leadership coach, and I'm here to help you make your complex life feel easy. Every episode, we tackle one subconscious limiting belief. You will leave this space having shifted your mindset to level up your career, embrace a Zen-like style of parenting, and finally savor the life you've worked so hard to create. So pop in your earbuds and let's do some coaching. Have you ever found yourself away on a work trip staring at your phone screen filled with photos of your kids, a lump forming in your throat because you're missing bedtime again? I've been right there with you, feeling that heavy ache of mom guilt that whispers, I'm not a good enough mom. This is one of my favorite limiting beliefs to work on because it's so obviously not true that it's easy to dismiss it, but it shows up so often in how we act. Now, imagine when you're cuddling in bed with your little one and it seems like the perfect moment. Feel that deep sense of relief and confidence that comes from truly believing, I'm exactly the mom my kids need right now. Not someday when things settle down, but right now, in this very moment. Here's what I'm offering you today. You can believe this reframe to create relief and confidence, even if you're on a work trip or a girls' trip or running on 3 hours of sleep or feeling frazzled. That you are exactly the right mom for your kids is always available to you. My clients often share that once they unlock this mindset, everything in motherhood shifts. Less guilt, more energy, more confidence. That is exactly what happened for me too. Once I cracked the code on stepping out of guilt, I discovered a level of ease I never knew was possible as a mom. So if your heart's nodding, let's talk about how to do this. Before we look at allowing or managing our guilt, it's essential that we understand what's going on in our brains that's keeping us stuck in the guilt. This is where the CTFAR model comes in. I learned this self coaching tool from Brooke Castillo during my very first certification program. And honestly, it shifted my entire outlook on motherhood. You may have learned a framework like this in therapy or maybe in a leadership training, as it's based on the basics of cognitive behavioral psychology. I'm going to walk you through it with an example about mom guilt. So the C stands for circumstance. A circumstance is any neutral fact, something that everyone would agree on. For instance, you traveling for work or pleasure, it's a simple fact. You had a flight, you stayed at a hotel, you missed bedtime in person. These are details that aren't inherently negative or positive, they just are. The T stands for thought. From that neutral event, like I'm away on a trip, our brains often create loaded thoughts, like I'm missing out on important moments, or I'm not a good enough mom. These guilt laden thoughts easily become our mental soundtrack when we are under stress. The F stands for feeling. The thought triggers an emotional response like guilt or shame or anxiety. You might feel a twist in your stomach whenever you imagine your child going to bed without you. The A stands for actions. From that feeling of guilt or shame, we tend to behave in ways that give us quick relief, but often conflict with our bigger goals. Maybe we overcompensate by buying our kids extra treats. This is what I do. Or maybe we stay up late to do more chores. Or maybe we overschedule quote unquote fun weekend activities. On the flip side, some of us shut down. I also do this. We are so mean to ourselves that we end up avoiding playing or connecting. And then we spiral into more mean thoughts and more guilt because we're not fully present. And finally, the R stands for results. In order to let go of a thought, it's important to notice and decide if you want to keep the result it's creating for you. The end result in our example is that we stay stuck in a cycle of not enough. We actually prove our negative thought that we're not a good enough mom because we're either overdoing things in a desperate attempt to soothe our own guilt, or we end up exhausted and checked out from being mean to ourselves. Meanwhile, the deeper sense of inadequacy never truly gets resolved. We subconsciously think that the travel, the circumstance, is creating the guilt, and that if we were just there for our kids 24/7, which would be a different circumstance, the guilt would go away. This is the trick. But your brain is always with you. If you believe you're not a good enough mom, then it will still trigger the guilt and the cascading actions and the results that come from that guilt. It doesn't matter if you're physically there. That's why I work at the belief level on myself and with my clients, because you can change your circumstances all day by changing your actions, which is exhausting, by the way, but your thoughts and feelings won't change until you take a look and do this deeper work. So let's talk feelings. Your first instinct might be to push the feeling away or cover it up with distractions. But as Brene Brown famously notes, shame thrives in secrecy and avoidance. Allowing your guilt or shame to surface can lessen its hold on you. It turns out when you name your emotions, literally saying, "Hey, I'm feeling shame right now," your brain breathes a sigh of relief. It's like you're telling your mind, "I see you, and we've got this." You've likely heard me share on this podcast how I take my anxiety with me instead of needing it to disappear before taking action. It sounds almost too simple, but I will say it again and again and again. Let yourself feel your feelings. Of course, none of this is easy. Our social feeds are stuffed with highlight reels of perfect parenting, and we subconsciously compare ourselves to that illusion. But remember, we're only seeing a curated slice of someone else's life, just the tip of the iceberg. I like to picture myself as the whole iceberg. Yes, I have achievements that might look impressive on Instagram, but there's so much more beneath the surface: fears and worries and real human stuff. And that makes me who I am. I want you to be more comfortable with that whole iceberg too. Let yourself experience the full range of feelings, because real change starts in your mind and your emotions, not your to do list. And I wonder for you, how might it feel to track the growth in your own thinking and feeling, not just in the tasks you complete? Noticing my own growth in my own thought awareness and emotional allowance versus just my external outputs has given me a ton of confidence. And I want to add a quick note for you that there's a difference between introspection, like we're doing now, and punishing yourself. Healthy introspection is curious. What am I actually feeling? What do I actually need right now? Punishment is telling yourself you deserve to feel lousy. Allowing your human experience is not wallowing, it's noticing and naming what is happening. So, if you come home from a work trip and your child is distant, it can feel so heartbreaking. Instead of spiraling, try saying, "I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling sadness." Then notice where it lands in your body. Recognize it. Next, instead of letting that feeling lead you to overcompensating or beating yourself up, break the cycle right there. Talk to yourself like you would a dear friend or your own child. "Of course, I'm sad. I missed important moments, and that hurts." That small dose of self compassion opens the door to reconnecting with yourself and your kids. Maybe you talk with them calmly, leave a sweet note, or send a voice message if you're still away. All right, great progress so far. You've noticed your emotions, you're allowing them without judgment. Now, let's put your thoughts under the microscope and ask, am I really failing here? This is where we collect real evidence to challenge the not enough story. We need to collect this evidence now because a lot of us growing up think that self criticism and pressure is the best way to improve. I believe this for 35 years. And sure, this works with anything short term. But as you may realize, because you're exhausted, it's no longer sustainable. So let's open ourselves up to the possibility that we're overlooking all the ways we do show up as loving moms. If it's scary to admit you're actually doing fine, try listing small caring moments from just the last 24 hours. Did you feed your kids? Text them a good night, I love you. Make them laugh. Even the tiny things count. Sometimes I even zoom way out. I look at my overall life, choosing a job that supports my family, or setting time aside on weekends for soccer games, or grabbing a snack with my daughter in between calls. You might not even realize how many loving things you do until you stop and think about them. Another part of analyzing your experience is realizing that even if you were the quote unquote perfect parent, whatever that actually means, your kids would still experience disappointment, frustration, and sadness all the time. Literally, no matter what you have done or will do in the future, because your kids are humans too. They are on their own emotional journeys, learning how to navigate the world. It's not your job to prevent every negative feeling. It's your job to guide them, love them, and allow them to be human by allowing yourself to be human. In my own experience, always the best thing for your kids is actually to see you taking care of yourself, pursuing a career you love, or setting boundaries that keep you mentally and physically healthy. When they witness you honoring your own needs, they learn to do the same for themselves. So ask yourself right now, what is genuinely best for me? And can I see how that benefits my kids? I know we have all heard that what is good for us is good for them, but a recent study came out showing concrete data that a mother's emotional well being strongly correlates with her children's resilience and their overall well being. So when I feel guilt creeping in, like, should I really go for a jog on Saturday or get that facial on Sunday? I remind myself that I'm modeling for them how to determine and prioritize their own needs too. And I trust that they will take this with them into their teenage and adult years. And also, it's no fun if you feel guilty on the entire run or through the entire facial. So please put me in your head the next time you experience this and hear me saying, investing in yourself is a direct investment in your kids. Amazing work so far. Now let's talk about how to step into that reality even more boldly. When you think about believing I'm exactly the mom my kids need, you might be familiar by now with bridge thoughts, which are gentler stepping stones between I'm failing and I'm perfect. For example, I'm learning to be the mom my kids need, or I'm open to believing I'm good enough right now. But today, I want to introduce the idea of visualization to really help you anchor a new belief. Research shows that imagining a scenario in vivid detail actually lights up your brain similarly to actually doing the thing. That's crazy to me. 5 minutes a day of visualizing successful performance can boost confidence by up to 20%. That is some real data. For busy moms aiming to adopt the I'm enough mindset, mental rehearsals of calm, connected parenting moments can fast track this shift for you. So if I'm saying I'm the perfect mom and your brain feels like a stretch, you can instead picture a peaceful bedtime routine where you speak calmly, your child feels heard, and you're genuinely present. Hear your voice in your mind, see how you handle any meltdowns or frustrations, and notice how grounded you feel. For example, in my own life right now, I have a 5-year-old daughter who has some sensory processing challenges. Bedtime often triggers her, and she'll sometimes scream or refuse to change into pajamas and brush her teeth, especially if I've been away. So I've started visualizing how I want to handle these moments before I walk into the room, taking a calming breath and imagining myself calmly explaining, I know you don't feel like getting ready now, but we're going to do your massage in just a few minutes. Screaming is okay. It's just your way of letting me know you're upset. In my mental movie, if you were, I see myself holding steady, letting her feelings flow, and reminding myself that nothing has gone wrong here. This is just part of her journey. Rather than battling with her or snapping in frustration, I'm offering compassion and showing that I trust her to release her emotions and I trust me to be able to hold space for them. It's only about 30 seconds of mental rehearsal each night, but it's made a huge difference for both of us. She's gradually more receptive to brushing teeth and settling down, and I'm seeing steady progress. And when I'm not at my best, I bounce back with far less guilt afterward because I've practiced how I want to respond to her and to my brain. Studies suggest that this level of detailed visualization helps the brain integrate new beliefs faster because it weaves together emotion and sensory detail and repetition, much like how athletes mentally practiced winning a race. As an athlete myself, I'm especially drawn to this idea of consistent practice rather than walking into a game without a strategy. So I bring this natural strength of mind and mindset in one area of my life into my parenting, and it is really working at bedtime. So now that you have this vision of yourself as a calm, present mom who fully believes she's exactly what her kids need, let's make it real with consistent, doable steps. Your incremental action step this week is simple. Whenever doubt creeps in, find one piece of evidence right in that moment that proves you're doing your best. It might be as tiny as noticing you paused your email to look your child in the eye during a conversation, or remembering you made sure they had a cozy blanket for bedtime. Even if you're knee deep in your busiest work season, there's always at least one way you're showing up. And that is exactly the evidence your brain needs to disrupt the I'm not good enough narrative. Each time you spot a micro moment of alignment, you reinforce the belief that you're enough right now. You can jot these tiny wins down in a journal or whisper them to yourself. See, I just offered a warm smile instead of a harsh correction. This is an immediate dose of confidence. And if you're craving extra support and encouragement, come share your win in the private community of my Choose Better Thoughts coaching program. Catching that micro moment as it happens and celebrating it together provides a powerful shot of dopamine and forward momentum. It's one thing to reassure yourself you're improving. It's another to have a circle of moms cheering you on, reminding you that yes, you are both enough right now and you are growing moment to moment. So, wonderful work today. Let's take a moment to recap. First, you brought awareness to the sneaky thought, I'm not a good enough mom, and recognized why it hits you so hard. And also, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. We all feel this way. You are not alone. Next, you practiced allowing those challenging emotions, acknowledging that guilt and shame lose much of their power once you stop hiding them. Then you analyze the belief itself and realize there's actual evidence contradicting the idea that you're not good enough. Finally, you learned how to align with a new empowering belief through visualization and a quick incremental action step. Each of these pieces, awareness, allowing, analyzing, aligning, helps you transform that subconscious "I'm not a good enough mom" script into confidence and calm. I'm so proud of you for showing up for yourself and, by extension, your family in this way. You deserve the hope and possibility that comes from nudging your self-doubt aside and doing this work. And remember, every drop of self-growth you invest spills over to your kids too. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Choose Better Thoughts podcast. If you found these ideas helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who is also craving more confidence, connection, and calm. For more free resources and a deeper dive into my step-by-step formula for making your complex life feel easy, head over to my website at choosebetterthoughts.com. Until next time, remember that you're already there, already enough, and your goals are as good as done. You've